Hello fans and welcome to the first ever live interactive reflections for the first time ever, fans. We've done a lot of these reflections before, but for the first time ever, we're going out live. You watch in real time along with us. And for the ride today, we have one of the most legendary tag teams of all time. The Nasty Boys.
Hey,
Brian Knobs, Jerry Sags. We're here live in studio. Say hello, boys.
Hey, hello, everybody. I still think I'm under quarantine, but I know it's safe down here and everything's COVID-free and clean, so I don't need the mask, but we are selling these masks on Breakneck. You got Tom, but I can take this thing off right now. But, we've been going through some crazy times. I'm 57. I've been through everything in my life. So has SAG in the wrestling business. And I never seen nothing like this for the whole world. It's not just, just one part. And it's crazy. But thank you guys for being with us. And we're still the same. And we sell these shirts too.
We're starting right off with a plug. We're starting right off with a plug.
Yeah, a plug, but
not only a plug, a giant fucking billboard.
Yeah,
right
but seriously, to be honest with you, it is really a serious time. This is the first time me and SAG flew anywhere all year, and the only reason we did was because of Rob, and he's a good friend of ours, and I know him very well, and I trusted him when he said everything was going to be good. The studio here, didn't have to worry about anything. I trusted him, and it's the first time we flew up and did anything for anybody,
Can we give a quick update on your health? Because you've had a lot of health problems.
My health right now, I'm getting along. I just got to watch. I had I have diabetes, so I got an infection in my foot, and in from my foot, it went to my knee that I already had replaced, and I went last year at this time in August. We went to a Comic-Con, and it was me, SAG, and God bless his soul, Rocky Johnson. And SAG said it too, but Rocky said, when you leave here, you got to go to the hospital. That's infected. You might lose your leg. You don't mess around. So when I was through with the Comic-Con, and it was in Orlando, thank goodness, I went right there to the hospital, and they took me right in. They pulled out, when they put a needle in my knee and pulled it out, usually it's liquid and that, it was disgusting, man. It was all pus and this and that, and they took me right in, and surgery on my foot, surgery on this, and it was a pretty crazy time. And my doctor said it's not a joke, but I have diabetes. Hey, let's face it, Nasty Boys, overweight, this, that, the other. And he said, if I get the coronavirus, I won't be able to fight it. You're going down. So I was very careful flying up here, but Delta, thumbs up to them. They really it was pretty easy flying up here. There wasn't too many people in the airports. And it was very, I had my hand sanitizer on me, my mask on all the time, so did SAG. And it was very easy flying up here. And another reason is, we're up here in the Philadelphia area, and me and SAG are from Allentown, PA. So I get to see, tomorrow I get to see my mom and dad, who are old now. My dad's 88, my mom's 83. And I get to see family that I haven't seen in over a year. So thank you for having us, guys. I appreciate it, and we're going to have a good time today.
Sags, how are you doing through this whole thing?
I'm doing good.
Yeah, you look good.
The only thing that hurt me is I like to be in the gym at least 4 days a week, and
oh my God! Wait a minute, I'm gonna have a heart attack.
Not here, no, please, not here.
When we had the belts, he never went to the gym. Now that he's up in his 50s, he goes to the gym all the time. I said, well, how did that switch?
I went. It got canceled, so they couldn't go. So I take the place of that. What made me work out so hard the last, I'd say 5 years, constantly running coaching my son football, my oldest son, and running the weight room and stuff like that. And I don't like to have, the punk kids show Mr. Nasty up. So I got jacked and would throw him around, and beat them up in their football uniforms and train hard. So if I'm telling them to do something, I got to be able to do it better.
Right.
So that's all. I just did it, and now I got a little guy. He's 10, and I'm coaching him, but he ain't lifting the weights and stuff yet. So it was a powerlifting and stuff like that. But I just replace it with a lot of outside work because sweating's good. So I go out because we have like 120-degree heat index down in Florida. You know, I get out and do, you know, purposely push the lawn, you know, for, you know, it's like walking 2 miles and then work hard, you know, to sweat my ass off.
Right.
To try to, you know, get as much cardio in that as you can. You got to keep moving.
For sure.
So that's basically it for me.
Like my good friend Willie Nelson said, you slow down, you go down. You know, just keep on moving. So,
do you guys keep up with anything in professional wrestling, like the current state of wrestling, or do you completely ignore it?
I actually do.
You keep up with it?
But I DVR it, so things I don't like, I can fast forward.
So that's
through,
everything?
More Raw
Right.
and SmackDown than AEW, but I watched AEW and I give them double thumbs up. And Jericho's a good friend of mine, Chris, and Cody and Dustin are his relation right there. They're cousins or what? I don't know what nephews. So
Right.
You know, I am so glad that there's another company out there because I'm telling you, back in the day when they had WCW and WWE, the competition was always good because it makes the other team fight harder. Where one guy don't have the do whatever you want, there is no competition. When there's competition, that makes you think more, makes you put better angles together, put better storylines together, and AEW is doing it, man. I'm really, you know, psyched that they're doing that good. I really am.
Stags, do you keep up with anything current?
I try to, yeah. I like to see what, as from my point of view, what draws me to the television screen, you know, and I like to hear when we're at, you know, what I miss about all the Comic Cons and appearances and stuff like that, because I like to hear the feedback, what comes like for the fans, not only from our era but all eras, and what's going on, what they think of the business now, what's happening and stuff like that. So I like to see how they're, I know, like what the task at hand, you know, the no people thing. I mean, you know, you tell me the meetings that had to be held and the production and the changes and what you had to do to pull something like that off. I mean, not only with wrestling, but you know, all sports, NFL, basketball. You know what I mean? They pretty much, you know, your fans and the feel you get from them drives you. Whatever sport, on the football field, you make a good hit or a big pass, on the basketball, slam dunk, and you feed off that. You know what I mean? And then in wrestling, it's totally what we were taught. I mean, we started out in front of 25 to 50 people, but that's where you learned, if those 25 to 50 people, if you can pull them out of their seat and have, or make them mad that they're coming over the railing to kill you, that's you're doing your job. You're learning the psychology and stuff like that. So I really wanted to see and watch, not only now but before, who's connecting with the people. I really like to watch my friends' children also. Right. And I communicate with them too. Kurt's son, the Rotundo boys, their fathers that were on the road with us, Harry and Georgia Davies' kids, even you know, a lot of them that their dads ain't here no more. Right. So I like to offer a helping hand any way we can, and watch, make sure they're doing good, to keep an eye on them, because I knew their fathers, and it not only upsetting, but their dads ain't here now no more to help them and do what we can do. So I try to help in any way I can, and I like to keep an eye on them, see how they're doing, and you know, like if you take, you know, not only Joe Henning, but like Bray Wyatt, you know, both the Mike's son. Mike was one of our best friends. We went up and down the road every day. It was always like me, Mike, and Sid, or me, Mike, and Sheiky Bubba, always on the road together, you know, and I knew those kids since they were, 4 or 5 years old, you know,
Right.
and to see the crazy stuff. I actually sat down with Bray in the Tampa airport at the Columbia restaurant. I go, hey, I walked up, said, you in the business? And he just started laughing because back in the day, we opened a coffee shop in Brooksville for his dad. And knowing Dick Byers brought Mike out of Syracuse University because he's a shooter, a wrestler, and Mike's history. And then Marion Blackjacks, who was a good friend of ours, and so was Barry and Kendall, and becoming a part of the Wyndham family, almost the same way I became part of the Rhodes. Dusty was my brother-in-law, and Cody and Dustin are my nephew. The same way Knobs married Julie and Tony are sisters, and him and Greg Valentine are in a wrestling family. You know what I mean? So it's like
it's a lot of family good family reunions there.
And Hammer still don't talk that much, even though he's family. He's still the same old Greg.
But God bless him. Blackjack's gone. You know, Dusty's gone. You know what I mean? Those are very influential people in our lives, and we went down the road with Barry and Kendall and Mike, and that's Mike married their sister.
Right.
So they're a wrestling family too, and as of Joe Henning, as of Randy Orton and Owen Bob. Bob's a great guy, a good friend of me and Knobs, and of course Joe Henning, because Kurt was our mentor, was one of the most important. But at my house, say maybe circa 1992-3. Davey and Anvil both moved down to Florida and lived by Land O'Lakes area. So it was like I had Natty and Jim's other two daughters, and Natty was just little at my house. I have pictures when they're little.
Right.
Harry with a Boy Scout hat on, and then his sister Georgia, now she's grown up and doing things with the wrestling business and all that. And Harry just grew up and became a machine. I mean, he was taught by Stu and the best, and he's a big kid too. I love what he does in the ring. I mean, and he's super, super successful in Japan, and he can work like there's no tomorrow.
It's a wonder why WWE don't bring him up and even put a manager with him if he's not good at talking. But I'll tell you,
no, they do.
He's like a Brody or a Stan Hansen. Them guys stayed in Japan, and they love Japan, and he loves wrestling over there and loves that style and that life. And one other thing I want to add is I take my hats off to all the guys over here wrestling in front of no people, because that is a hard thing to do when you don't have the energy, and that gets inside of you. If you're doing the right thing, if you're a heel and you're getting the heat, and when there's no people there, it's like you're at the performance enhancing center, just wrestling.
Right.
And that has to be the toughest thing to wrestle with no people. And now Vince did a good thing with the Raw, putting all the TV screens and the lights, so that looks better. But before that, when they just had the guys out there, no fans. I mean, it was hard to watch.
Jumping back to what Knobs mentioned when his knee seized up on him, we spent Rocky Johnson's last birthday with him.
Oh yeah.
His wife brought a birthday cake in. We were at a Comic-Con outside Orlando, and the next time I saw him, he was in front of us at his funeral. Talk about third generation, second generation. Well, good story. We lived in an apartment in Tennessee, in Murfreesboro, and above us lived Rocky, Dewey, who we call The Rock, is Dewey.
Right.
He was 12 or 13, and his mom. And across the street, one of the Moondogs lived, and then down the street, the Kelly twins, which one of the Kelly twins died in a car accident with Adrian in Halifax. They were identical twins, so they were like clones. It was actually funny,
right.
The gimmick. But anyway, long story short, one day Rocky I want to take the wife out. Now, our apartment was like Animal House, okay, in Tennessee. Now, we had Sean and Marty staying with us, Marty Jannetty and
Right.
Shawn Michaels. Scott Hall would come through town and stay with us. Kurt would come through town and stay. And you can imagine what was going on in this apartment.
Right.
And I mean, and anybody that would come, Steve Kern, Jimmy Suzuki, the Japanese a reporter, got his head shaved and eyebrows in our hallway in this apartment. Everything smashed apart. Anyway, so one day Rocky comes, hey, can you guys watch Dewey? That's Dwayne. Only his intimate family calls him Dewey. I just saw him at his dad's funeral call him Dewey. And that's what we knew him as Dewey.
He was already 14, 15 when we were watching.
And
He wasn't a little kid.
He wasn't a baby, but
Right.
but he came, he still laughed. We laughed our ass off because we babysat The Rock.
Right.
And
We got him ripped.
if he could be a fly in the wall to see what the poor kid saw in the midst of being babysat by the Nasty Boys, can you imagine?
You didn't get too many babysitting gigs?
I can imagine if we put it in the internet, babysitting Nasty Boys.
Right.
Just wait for the phone to ring. It ain't gonna ring.
Right.
He came up to my wife at a Legends when Hulk got inducted. I went out and Hulk invited me out, flew me out, and he came up to me, Rock, and he said introduced him to my wife, and he goes, "Do you know your old man right here? Him and his partner got me smashed off my ass when I was 14 or 15, and my dad wasn't too happy. But then again, when I look back at it, I think Rocky did it for like the teach the kiddies now
Experience.
15,
Experience.
old school rules, but
Speaking of that, going off of that, how do you think the younger talent nowadays, now take apart from the kids of the business, like you say, but just the younger talent,
yeah, I know
how do they get the experience?
I know what you're getting at, and I feel really bad in that category because of that's where we did all those stuff was the small territory days. And you did have WWF at the time was steamrolling, but we still had a lot of small territories. AWA where we broke in, and you had Texas, Florida, everywhere was still up and running, and so you could jump around and hone your skills. And I think that's a situation they're dealing with now. But I really pity the guys now because they went through the OVW and the Louisville and making Florida Championship Wrestling and trying to reproduce that situation of a small territory because that's really where the young talent learned. Right. And they've done it. Now it's all at the training center over there. I know they're probably getting the best training, and but because I know Sean's there, which is Sean's always been one of the best workers I've ever seen in our era. And teaching the kids, they got the right guys there and stuff like that. But it is really, really hard. I mean, just taking the airports, the security, and then the way the business has changed. I remember Arnold Skolin, George Steele, and just remember just telling us going when it comes down to just pay-per-views and television, that's when I go, what? And I back in the 90s, I'm like, what the F are you talking about? Right. And sure enough, basically now all the companies that are up and running, because there's 600 cable companies that need content, where Vince McMahon was always a wrestling promoter and used television to fill the seats in the arenas, where Ted Turner made TV for his companies to have content. Basically what's going on now is like what Ted Turner was doing. Everybody's just making content for cable companies. So basically the business has transitioned from an arena business, house show mainly driven, to a straight up television production company. So the kids wrestle like that. They're scripted. They're told what to do. They're taught like that, like almost like you're going into an acting school or a soap, where you read this, do this, say this, and follow the script. I mean, I give it to the guys that actually push the barrier and break out of there. because we all had to do that on our own.
Yeah.
I was never told an interview. We wrote our own. We made up our own matches. We would give you'd have a finish. We did it all. Sometimes I would, on one finish, I had a big match coming. I would work on a finish and this was going back to old school Eddie Graham, which we were taught by Mike Graham and Dusty. Mike knew we were out all night, and Dick Slater would have us late. He'd give us a 15-minute finish, and if you missed one part of that, we caught hell. And that was the old school Eddie Graham finishes. Because a finish of a match could start in the first 2 minutes of the match,
right?
And it's very intense psychology, and that's a part of it that is hard to learn when you don't have the grab and feel of the people to know what you're doing is working because the response ain't there.
Right.
So, and then it's hard to do the dance. You know what I mean? And when you do get it and you're young, like I said, if it's 100 or 200 people, a spot show in a cow pasture, wherever, but if they're running over the railing and throwing stuff at your head and stuff, well, we're doing something right, and you feel it.
Right.
And it feels good. You
right.
know what I mean? Right. So it ain't like a lot of guys go, these young kids, I feel bad for them because they're restricted in the way they got to learn, or come out of a backyard wrestling situation, and hopefully they can make it. Or they do finally get, well, this kid looks good, and they do go to the learning center for WWE or wherever, and they might get pulled up too soon. And they call that hot shot. And, and the kid doesn't get over or make it, he might never ever get that chance again in his life. You know what I mean? Where Kurt Hennig told us, you shut your mouth and you take the first 5 years of this business like you're getting paid to go to college. Don't you say fucking anything. You just work hard and learn and listen. Yeah. And the kids don't have that opportunity anymore. And then after you paid your dues and learned for that time, maybe you'll catch a break after that. And we did, because we did that. But sometimes you do, some guys don't. Never get that break or that opportunity.
Right.
But it really narrows that down when you're flash trained or not trained right, and then just thrown into a situation and you're not ready for it. Luckily, in our career, we were taught respect. We went to one of the hardest wrestling camps in the world.
Yeah. Brad Reagan's.
We did all our wrestling on an Olympic mat for almost close to a year before he let us earn the dues to put up the ring. When we put the ring up, oh my God, we're getting to go into a ring.
Right.
Then we drove the ring truck and got our ass
refereed, everything.
But when you learn like that and learn that respect, we did it the right things, even though we got fired and rehired, but that was a test too. But when it came time, when the ball was handed to us, because it was off the cuff, we were ready for it.
Right.
Like I'll mention one thing about if you take the situation, how he ended up working with the Steiners. Ole Anderson came in the book up at WCW, and we were working in Florida and going back to Charlotte with George Scott, who reopened the NWA. We were going back and forth. And Gene Anderson, one of the wrestlers, one of the Anderson brothers, was up there with Lou Thez, Johnny Walker, Paul Jones, the manager, a lot of old timers. And George Scott was an old time because he was a big, huge Johnny Valentine fan. And Greg's the one that told us, hey, go up there to work. So Ole sets out and goes, and he went on a round, and he went to Florida. Gene told him about us, but he came to Florida and watched us work at the Sportatorium live. After that, he asked us to come up to do a television. I said, sure. And then he pulled in at the same time Art Barr from Portland, and a kid named J.W. Storm, and I think another team, somebody else, I forgot who they were, in the WCW. So
that was a Clash of Champions.
So Gene Anderson, we get in his old car and it's leaking gas, no air conditioning, a little fan up in the corner. Old Gene drives us from Charlotte down to Asheville, and that clashes. And we go, you're wrestling Clash of the Champions. We're like, now if you're not ready for that, and here do we get Terry Taylor and Bobby Fulton. Two great workers, and Terry Taylor's a great guy. And Terry had buzzed Sean, talked to Shawn Michaels about us, and then Sean, they were brought up, broke in with us in the AWA, and so Terry, they took care of us in a way. We gave it our all, but having them two guys work with us, not against us, really helped us.
Right.
And it was just a match, but it felt great. We were doing that. Terry was doing the double thing where everything was perfectly built. We had our shit down as a team.
Yeah.
And then we came in. Ole asked to come in just on a nightly guarantee. And it came around, these guys, I'm going to throw this might be good to throw these guys to the Steiners, because the Steiners were maniacs at the time.
Well,
You know what I mean?
I got to interrupt.
Wait a second. This is about how the ball was handed.
Okay.
And there was no plans or thing. It said, we're going to be wrestling these guys or anything. We got to Chicago, and we weren't wrestling just wrestling this team, that team, Tracy Smothers and them, other guys, and we get to Chicago. Ole Anderson goes, you two, go out right now and do a live interview to Chicago. Now, okay, and it's sold out, the pavilion downtown. Me and him go out there, and I go, what the fuck? If you're not ready for that, you shit the bed, and you blah, blah, blah. I go, you Southside pieces of shit. We're from New York City, and the place erupts, and we do a cut-it interview and tore the thing down and come out and go, how the hell did that just happen? You know what I mean? So now Ole goes, now if we wouldn't have made that interview work, he don't go to the next step. Now he comes and thinks about it. Now, okay, that you got over, and that got over. So this is what he must have been thinking in his head. Comes about 20 minutes, a half hour later, we're going to do a signing for Halloween Havoc, a tag team titles match signing with you and the Steiners. Table like this, in the middle of the ring. He goes, the belts will be there, mix it up, like they do for when the boxers meet, and there's, so we can do whatever we want. Yeah, mix it up a little bit. So me and him take full advantage of this, and that's when we did the contract sign. We went, they signed, we signed. Me and him picked the belts up, and the Steiners didn't even know that it was, maybe we'll, do something to you. They didn't really know nothing about it. We looked the belts, I took that belt, and I hit Ricky as hard as I could straight in the face with it. Boom. Cut his head open, and we blasted, and Scotty knocked him over the table flies. We dumped Ricky out, and we bubbled, and it was like a blazing maniac fight, but it exploded. And that's what led into the match at Halloween Havoc, which excelled us to the next level. Not only did it end there, then Ole says, we get back. After the match at Halloween Havoc, which we tore the house down, the best match of the night. That put us to the next level to get to go to WWE. We get back now. Ricky gets me back on a chair on my back, with the top of the chair give me like a 2-inch laceration in the back of my head, and I had hundreds of stitches in my face and head. I don't give a shit about that. So there was blood when I actually had Scotty and the Boston Crab. It was down. The blood was pouring over the top of my head, down and down my back. And so we get to the back and goes, okay. The match got over so big. Well, he goes, we're gonna keep this going. Now you're gonna put this. I go, what? He goes, put this hat on and this beard. I go, what? And he gives me an apron and hands me a tray with popcorn in it.
Right.
Okay, when Scotty Steiner is going to be doing an interview with Eric Bischoff, because you guys just knocked, we double posted Ricky to keep the heat, and all he goes, you're going to be the popcorn vendor. I go, well, my head's bleeding. I won't take care of that later. Just he sticks the fucking beard on me in the hat, and Scotty's going, you nasty boy, and Eric Bischoff's doing an interview and I'm in the background, popcorn, and then the next thing I look like this, and they're talking to camera, and they're facing. I'm in back of them. Here I come with the popcorn. I had a board in the tray, a piece of plywood inside the plastic tray, and blam, nailed them. And here comes Knobs. And we beat the living shit. That stuff. That's always just one step after the other.
Right.
Total ab lib. Nothing. I mean, so if we weren't ready for that interview. At that point in time in our life, we go out and shit the bed.
We had 5 years.
It never goes to the next step.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
You never
Yeah.
felt any kind of intimidation at all?
Well, you're always that's part of the thing. Your
we
adrenaline.
had 5 years in the business. We went to territories like Tennessee, South Atlantic. We did all the small territories. So in them 5 years, we learned. So we were ready when they gave us a shot. But now I got to go back and. Sag wants to do the whole interview by himself because I want to throw a couple of things in there.
We'll get you in, don't worry.
But anyway, the first thing came before he came with Ole and all that.
Right.
Is nobody wanted to wrestle the Steiners. They were hurting people. They were throwing them around.
Not really hurt, not injuring them.
Not injuring them.
It was still in the era of wrist lock.
Can I talk for a minute?
Right.
They weren't like crippling people. So
but they were throwing them around, suplexes, and they were hurting some of the wrestlers, and nobody wanted to wrestle them. And they went to us and said, "Would you guys like to wrestle the Steiners?" And they told us straight out, a lot of people don't want to work with them. They've been hurting people, this and that. And we went, hell yeah, we'll work with them. We're barroom
we
fighters.
hurt people too.
Yeah, we're barroom fighters from Allentown, and we got trained by Brad Reagan's, and Ricky got trained by Brad Reagan. So it came, and we meshed like glue, and we became the best of friends. And that's how kind of that started.
You talk about the territory thing. Minneapolis, Vern Gagne loved amateur wrestlers and shooting.
Well,
so we were taught.
It was one of the big territories.
But we were taught almost
AWA,
Japanese,
Texas,
Japanese,
NWA, and Vince.
A stiff Japanese, a realistic style of wrestling out of Minneapolis. So that's that style of wrestling that we were taught. Now I actually laugh because some people ask me, Mick Foley said in his book that you guys were sloppy, and I go, what? I go, what? Mick Foley? When's the last time Mick Foley grabbed a fucking headlock? I mean,
right?
You're gonna say we could wrestle any style. I mean, we did street fights, but where'd that sloppy come from? I don't understand that. We could wrestle anybody. From the LOD to the natural disasters to the rock, any style of wrestling, I could jump in and do it.
Yeah,
but I don't know. And the Rockers helped us out big time too. But another thing I wanted to say, we're talking about the young, guys coming up. He was mainly talking about WWE Performing Enhancement Center, but AEW is letting the guys come up with own finishes and the way they want to work, and letting them do their own interview. There ain't nobody in there telling them what to do,
right?
Like it is with Vince, where you get a script and you got to stick by that script. If you don't, you get your ass chewed out, or sometimes they'll even, go as far as suspending you or whatever. But in AEW, they're doing it like the old style. They let you work the matches out. They let you, talk over finishes, do your own interviews, and they go over it with the producers and that. But I thought that was a real smart way of them, and that had to come from Chris, because he's the oldest guy there, from going from they'll bring that back, because that has a lot to do with it. When you guys come up with your own material and that, it's you can't have somebody else talk for you. How can a producer, even if he's not in the business, do a Stone Cold interview? That comes from Stone Cold's heart. You know what I mean? Ric Flair, same thing. Hulk Hogan, the same thing. They're letting these guys, AEW, do their own interviews, work out their own matches, work out their own finishes, and that helps really mainly in the, when you're in the ring, you see it. You know what I mean? And right now, I watch AEW matches. They're awesome. I mean, the thing Chris Jericho came up with, the jacuzzi, the champagne. On both sides of the ring, they had big jacuzzis with champagne in them. And what a concept. And Tony Khan went with it, and the match got over, and it was a great. It was like phenomenal. He already trademarked that. Chris did. I heard that that he came up with the event, so nobody else can try to redo it. But that's the thing. They're letting the guys think for themselves and do their own thing, where other companies, here it is on paper, and this is what we want you to do. And if you do something wrong and you don't go by their script, you can't do that in wrestling. You got to let the guys be the guys and let their character form. We're the Nasty Boys, so we came out there and did our thing, and nobody ever told us how to do an interview. They gave us bullet points, but that was it. And then we went on, just like all of the greats, from Piper to everybody.
It'd be like a director, going to Robert De Niro and saying, "Listen, cut. You didn't read it as we said, but
right.
Pure method actors."
That's why there's such a disconnect. There's a disconnect with the fans now.
I mean, you got it when you're talented and know your business. He knows how to put that character across that he's playing and what to do.
Right.
So you basically, as a director, you sit back and let him go. When we get to TV, and we'd have 2 days of TV a month for WWF, now WWE. There'd be under the arena in the by the locker room stuff. Sometimes 15 interview booths set up. Studios like this. And you'd go international, country to country. So we'd come in and say we were me and Gene. We'd come in there with Gene, and they go, you got 45 seconds. You're in Chicago wrestling the LOD, and boom. Now, if you were doing those takes,
me, him, and Jimmy,
and Jimmy feeding off each other and feeding off me and Gene. If you're doing those takes over 5, 6, 7 times and don't know what you're doing, just that one booth, you're wasting the whole day.
Right.
We were like one take experts. That we would Jimmy and then the thing. I do my little thing. Niles do his. We see the countdown. Now one of us got to wrap that up, and he's counting us down to get the hell out of there. And boom, we're gone. Now we'd have sometimes 10 interviews in each booth. If you don't know what you're doing. And that's all it'd say, the bullet points. You're wrestling these guys in this town. In your mind, you're thinking, what do I say about Chicago? What do I say about the Hart Foundation to piss them off? Or are we in Calgary with them? Now you're going to the Canadians. You put it in there and add it into what you're going to say. And you did it yourself.
I mean, nobody gave Jake the Snake a thing, the great interview guy.
Right. Nobody gave anybody back then
Rhodes,
anything.
I mean, come on. They did their own thing. And just like the matches, we would drive down the road, who were wrestling, have beers when it was the Rockers back in the day, and we talked. That's all we would do. After we were done, going a 2-hour drive, 3-hour drive to the next town, we talk about how our match was, how we can improve it. This would look good if we do this. This would look good with this. Everything to make the match better.
Roddy Piper, especially Kurt Hennig,
Adrian
Adonis, Bob Orton, Jimmy Snuka, Buddy Rose. Everybody said the old school guys, where you really a lot like the stuff Roddy did and Kurt, all them that old school guys. They would, after the thing, they would stoop, drink beers, and travel down the road to the next town, and that's where it was like a mind session.
Right.
You have the buzz on. What if we did this? What if we know that's a great fucking idea? If
anybody goes way back, go way back. We wore spandex, yellow, black, this and yellow spandex and the boots, and God bless. Good guy, and really helped us out. Jerry the King Lawler said, "Hey, you guys call yourselves the Nasty Boys, but you're not dressed like the Nasty Boys. Like you're." And right away, it gave us the idea he's right. Get something from the streets, and be more like that. And that's when we came up with the sweatshirts and the splash. And we used to wear like them biker gloves.
And this shirt.
The shirt. Oh, are you kidding me? And
is that shirt from the streets? Is that from the streets? That the one you're wearing now?
This one?
No, this one here.
No, this one's made like our old ones used to be.
Oh, okay.
But my wife actually, we used to get them airbrushed, and they weren't as good.
Yes.
My wife would make our shirts, and nobody knows how long it took her to make 2 shirts because the black soaks in, so she would have to do every color
Well, she
when
made
she
this,
splashed it.
this we really wore.
Yeah,
that's
this one we wore,
that's
but she
fanatic.
and she don't like this one because the other ones were so colorful.
Basically like a dumpster. You're back in a
Right,
back
you take-
alley. Graffiti on the
Throwing
wall.
graffiti.
That
But,
type
yeah,
of
graffiti,
our
yes.
jackets
But-
and everything reflected that.
But it took
you know.
it took a long time, and in our jackets, we got airbrushed by Jimmy's guy that always came out good. So we made ourselves in. He's right, the Nasty Boys, and then all of a sudden, we got with Piper and Adrian Adonis, and they give us a thing that goes, "You guys don't do nothing nasty. I mean, you're out there wrestling just like a regular wrestler. What do you do nasty?" That's how the pit stop came up with.
Right.
You need to do something nasty. Stick this. They gave us with like 15 or 20 different ideas what to do, and then we came up with the pit stop would be good. And that's how we kind of formed that together. But it was help from Adrian Adonis, God bless his soul, and Roddy Piper, God bless his soul.
Simple things like spitting and in someone's face, spitting. Gorilla Monsoon hated that as an old school wrestler. Quit that spitting, walk into the ring because we go, that,
Right.
But Adrian said when we were in a Minot AWA TV taping. This is at Bob Orton, Adrian, because we go pick them up from the airport. They came off their that early '80s, those first couple WrestleMania runs. Into Jimmy Snuka was there with us. Jimmy drove with us. Bob, but Adrian goes. We were taping TV for AWA in Minot. We come in. He goes, well, I see you now. I first watch you guys. What's nasty? Nothing. You're doing wrist locks and thing. He goes. Well, I go. What do you mean? He goes. Take a pin out and stab them in the eye or something, and take take them and spit straight in their face. Take their head and rub it in your partner's armpit. I went. That's the greatest thing I ever heard. Once we heard the armpit, and that became our
Pity City.
Yeah, I mean that's how that shit.
Right.
Kurt Hennig, another great friend and mentor that's not here no more, that took us under his wing. Jimmy Superfly Snuka. I'll never forget him telling me he stayed with us for a month in our apartment in Minnesota.
No, not our apartment, but in Brad's basement.
Brothers, well, it was our apartment.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
In name only.
He said, brothers, any publicity is good publicity.
Right.
Yeah, and he would actually, tell us things, and they became friends. They liked us. So we got accepted from some of the greatest of all greats, and that's what made us, rise to where we are. Like the Hulk Hogans and the Ric Flairs and the Bret Harts and all these guys took a liking to us and gave us information how to make our character better.
Don't forget the Macho Man.
Macho Man.
Oh.
And just give it to us, but not tell us, do it this way. Just throw an idea in our head, and let's see if they can figure it out.
Going back to the Steiners, were they resistant at all? Because you guys were, just coming into the company.
No,
greatest.
they knew that we didn't give a goddamn. We didn't give a shit.
We were ballroom fighters.
It's very hard that with their amateur gimmick and all the suplexes they like to do. Like I'm saying, to go wrestle like. Like the not.
Well,
I love the midnight. I love like
the
Midnight Express.
They're gonna throw you though. There's no stopping it. I don't give a shit if you're
going.
They knew what the hell they were doing. NCAA Michigan, if they wanted to suplex you, they're suplexing you whether you like it or not.
Right.
I'm saying, look at the tag teams at the time that were in the early WCW there. Like say if you took Robert and Ricky, that's like working with Sean and Marty. It's a night off, the greatest workers on earth. But the style of them, their style against the amateur Steiner type style, getting them suplexed off the top rope and stuff, it just doesn't jive. And those guys are like,
right.
this is crazy. We ain't doing this stuff. Or the Midnight Express, or even Michael Hayes and them guys, or anybody like that. They not only probably they couldn't do it, but wouldn't. You know what I mean? Where we would just do, we're going to do that? Okay. One time that finish, he took that Frankensteiner. I thought he broke his neck. That great.
Right.
Listen, we're at the time he's 320. I'm close to 300 pounds, 6'4", and I'm coming off the getting suplex from the top into the middle of the ring. I'm on Scotty's shoulders like Animal and Hog Steel, but Ricky would jump off the top rope and bulldog me. But we would just run with anything. We didn't care because
Right.
we could do it.
Did you get signed to contracts?
Well, who really helped us when in our beginning in '86 when we were in AWA with Vern, and they're good friends of ours. They always been. Sean used to live with us. Was Sean and Marty, because they were innovators. They were always doing something different, sliding through the legs, doing this, doing that. And they really had their stuff together,
But
and they
two of
really
the
helped
best,
us.
two of the best
And
workers that you can ever work
and
with.
Right.
we were with them for over a year and a half in a program in Tennessee and in Minnesota. So we had like a good like 2 years with them. And this is even before we got it, made it to the bigs. So when we finally made it to the bigs 5 years in 2000, we went to South Atlantic, and that's when they seen us, and Gene Anderson brought us down to the Clash of Champions. We had our stuff together. We had our shit together.
Right.
From them 5 years of learning from the best, learning from guys like Colonel De Beers, Buddy Rose. I mean, all these guys that were great wrestlers and knew what they were doing. And I'm telling you, for some reason, they took a liking to us. Plus, we were crazy and doing wild.
How did
shit
the
at
office?
time.
How did the office in WCW like you guys like Jim Hurd?
Well, you
Right.
probably heard that story. The only thing with Jim Hurd was when we turned down that contract.
right? Could you elaborate on that a little?
We weren't under contract.
So you were working? Were you working night to
We were
night?
just. Ole said, "Come in." Whatever he said, I don't even know what it was. I'll give you this much a night. We said we were just jumping at the opportunity. He said, "Great," and we were. But after that Steiner match, that's when it blew up. Then Jim Hurd comes to us with a big contract, and right at that time, the phone rang. Who was it, Hulkster or Vince called? Because we were hanging out with Hulkster at the
called
time.
me and said, Vince wants to talk to you. And I said,
Let's set that up before we get into that. How did you guys? What's your relationship like with Hulk Hogan? How did it become a friendship?
Actually,
leading up into that.
Actually, what started it, we had a
Restaurant.
we had a restaurant going in Clearwater.
We had a
We were wrestling
restaurant.
with Florida
The Nasty
Championship
Boys
Wrestling.
restaurant.
And
no, it was somebody
no,
else.
it was
that brought us
our
in.
buddy.
Oh, okay, you were a partner. You were a partner
it was
on
called
it.
the Seafood Shanty.
Oh, okay.
No, I'll tell you what happened. A guy named Matty.
Okay. You tell
No,
him what happened.
A guy named Matty.
Don't get hot.
Well, he used to. Matty.
I just sit here. Hell,
Matty had him and his wife had a place called Julie's on Clearwater
take it
Beach.
over, Sags.
On Clearwater Beach, and they got divorced. And Matty used to take Wahoo and Ray Stevens and were good friends with Mike Graham and Steve Kern, take them out fishing and stuff like that.
Right.
They got divorced. Matty says, "I'm going to open my own restaurant right up from the original Hooters," and he's dying there. So he comes over to television and asks Steve Kern and Mike Graham, "Do you have anybody like to help?"
Well, actually, he came to. He loves wrestling, so he came to a couple matches at North 6 in Albany. We used to do Tuesday nights in this small, really ratchet building for Florida Championship Wrestling. And he got to like us after he seen it. And then he asked Steve Kern about us. And that's how he really got to say.
He said, "Do
approach
you have two guys, or can you give me any wrestlers that I'll give them free food and beer, and that'll come over to the restaurant and help me think." He goes, "Yeah, I got two guys."
That's
Steve
a home
Kern
run.
said. He goes, me and Miles went, "What? Free food and beer? We were living in the hood, and $50 a week if we're lucky." We went over and we started going to the restaurant, and the next thing we start popping the business. Then we go to Japan, came back with
but
money.
before that, then he started liking us. We switched our deal, not just free food and beer. We wanted to get out of the shithole we were living in. He had a big house by himself. I don't know, 5,000 square foot over in Safety Harbor, a nice section of Florida. We said, "Hey, if we're doing this for you," and we gave him money. We came back from Japan. We both gave him 10 grand a piece to be part of the restaurant. We said, "If we're giving you this money, we got to live with you."
Live with him.
Yeah.
He must have really liked
He had
you.
like a 5-bedroom house.
It was us
Right.
three.
Bathroom,
He
so it
was
was just
divorced.
us. He was divorced.
Greatest guy.
Yeah, greatest guy. Big pool, everything. And so we did the whole 9 yards. We lived with them. We worked
Listen,
the restaurant. We
daily-
wrestled. So our actually living went up, but we weren't living in some shithole down there on Fletcher Avenue in Florida.
Right.
Yeah, we're now over on the beach side, you know, and
living it up.
Oh yeah, well, it was like the place was like if anybody knows. Frenchie's down in Florida, like one of them places, or a Hooters.
Like
it was
a wing house or something.
You know, like just a seafood place that people come to, and we helped out big time.
And now you're part owners
now. Yeah, and we're part owners, and we're living with the guy.
And you're living, and you moved in with him.
We would wake up, and we'd go down to the restaurant.
And he had a bar in the damn house.
And we'd eat steaks and that. And
right.
We'd go work out.
Right.
Then we'd go to Clearwater Beach. And get all the girls and everybody wound up. Come over tonight to the bar tonight and everything like that. Now we might have to go wrestle that night for Florida Championship Wrestling. We'd always come back, and then we'd party till the bar closed, keep it open extra, and then take everybody from the bar up to the house. He would drive them nuts. We wouldn't leave that house sometimes until it's 11 o'clock the next morning.
Right.
Hawk or the Road Warriors was up there. Boss Man. Everybody started coming in town. We'd invite all the guys over.
Yeah.
Well, his wife, Julie, Greg the Hammer's wife, really got to like us and know us. And she goes, Hawk, you got to see these two guys. So Hawk really sent Brutus in first. Brutus stayed with us up at the house, and he partied with us at Maddie's and all that. Then Hawk brought the family into the restaurant, and he goes, "Oh my God, these fucking two crazy, you know, we're nuts."
Is that so? That's the first time you ever met him?
That's how we met Hawk.
That's how I met my wife, because she came down to visit Julie, and then she wanted to move down here, and she managed a restaurant.
Right.
And I was hitting on her, and she would always say, "I'm not going out with no wrestler." My sister goes out.
Especially a nasty boy, right?
Yeah.
That's a tough sell.
So it took me a while, but I finally, roped her, and we're still together today.
Wow.
So thank the Lord.
That's great.
So picture
almost
this.
30-some years.
Because of Julie, though, and then Hawk came in and met us with his whole family, and we ate. This is when the bar was closed in the afternoon. But right after that, we get a call, and he invited us to the house, and to his big house in Clearwater. Who was there? Shane McMahon, Vince, Pat Patterson, the Bushwhackers, Macho, Brutus, Hulk, all of us.
It was actually,
and there's us.
It was
wow.
Here we are at Florida Championship Wrestling. What the fuck are we doing in this room?
But it was
right.
It was a big party out by the pool.
He had a party at the pool, but he had Maddie cater it. So we were over there, Maddie catering it. So we were invited too. And at that time, we had already met Hulk a bunch of times, and he didn't care. So
what year was this?
89, maybe?
89. So that's at the height of everything.
89, when we finally started to make the move.
It was so when now we meet and everything, and Knobs goes. This is not that I'm saying this is a true story. Knobs goes. Start this Pat and thing. I was talking to Shane, and that's when we first met him. We became great friends after that when we came up to the company. But Knobs goes, I can do. Hulk was there. He goes, I can do the best Hulk Hogan interview. He goes, what? Hulk goes, what? And Knobs,
Dusty. I did Dusty.
First he did Dusty. Let me tell you, because Dusty, we're Dusty. He does the Dusty thing, and everybody laughing at that. But then he blows out the Hulkamania, the Mean Gene, the full. Knobs does it full-fledged to the T, like it was Hulk doing it. And Hulk's eyes went like this. I think it totally got over with him. You know what I mean? It was I was like, what the hell? Where'd that come from? Let me tell you something, brother. And I was just shaking and doing all this stuff. And let me tell you what I mean, Gene. And then Pat and Thing are going, what the hell? It's Hulk Hogan the second, but he Knobs nailed it.
And this is at the party.
Right at the party, yeah. He did the interview.
In 87, we became good friends with Steve Kern because they would bring him in now just for guest appearances because he was one of the fabulous ones.
Right.
And Steve, helped us. And then he said, if you guys ever want to come down to Florida Championship Wrestling, me and Mike just started it up again. And we said, okay. And then when we got fired from the AWA for the second time, the first place we went was we came right down without even asking if we're booked or not. And we came to the office and said, hey, Steve, we're here. You going to book us? And then we stayed. And
Steve goes, wait a minute. The company didn't even start yet. What are you doing? Well, we had no place else to go.
Right.
And we stayed for almost a month or two, and so did Dustin. after us. We stayed in the office there, and it was in the crappiest part of Tampa. And we were living in the office. We were taking a shower downstairs, sleeping on the couches they had in the different rooms.
Right.
Yeah, but then a better thing happened. Dusty left Crockett, and he came down to help Steve and Mike out for Florida Championship Wrestling. Then Dusty loved us, and you know, from then on, and then he was only there for, I would say, about a year, maybe not even.
Yeah.
And
He
Vince
did like
called
a
him.
homecoming.
Vince called him, and then he brought him up and put the polka dots on him and tried to bury him a little bit there. And Dusty's too smart for that. Dusty got over with the polka dots and everything because the Dream was so intelligent in this business. And we were with him, and we learned a lot from him and Mike Graham.
Well, because of Dusty's coming back, now you have Dory and Terry Funk come in.
Yeah.
Dick Murdoch, all these guys that the Texas crew and the old workers came back that were all from Florida Championship Wrestling days, and now we're around these guys. Dick Murdoch's taking us out. Now we're running with Terry Funk, you know what I mean, and seeing that whole deal. Here comes Barry and Kendall down from the thing to come in for a run. Now we wrestled Barry and Kendall. You know what I mean? And they brought a whole nother world to just a bunch of young guys restarting Florida Championship Wrestling. When Dusty came back, he was like,
it started right when we were in camp. AWA, Brad Reagan's Olympic champion, and the ring didn't even get set up for 3 months. We were wrestling on real Olympic mats, and he was stretching us and this and that. And then he took us to a show, AWA show, and there was Kurt there, Nick Bockwinkel, everybody. And afterwards, we went to Buck Zumoff's bar, and we're like I said, we were barroom fighters, and we got drunk, and Buck Zumoff had a shot stool where you lean back and
it's a barber chair.
Yeah, barber chair.
And he ejects you back in it, and they dump a bottle of whiskey on your
So what we did was, and we were just in camp yet. We said, "Fuck this!" We grabbed Buck, threw him in the thing,
and we stuck the whiskey bottle.
Whiskey bottle. This and that. The next day in the morning, Brad Reagan calls Kurt Hennig, swear to God, and says, "Hey, I think I got 2 guys you would like, and I think they're going to make the business. You should check them out." And Kurt went, "Oh yeah, all right, this and that." And when he finally met us, it was like friends at first sight.
I remember the day. We lived in Brad's basement, and Brad yelled down, "Hey, come on outside!" And then on top of Brad's house was a hill, and this is in Hamill, Minnesota, right down the street from the Road Warriors gym, the old gym. And walking down, here's this blonde-haired guy with curly like it's Kurt with a jean jacket on, and Brad strutting down, and they walk down, and they, "Hey, how are you guys doing?" I remember the first day that we met Kurt, and then from then on, it was us with Kurt, and Kurt would pick us up to go to the shows, and he would get us in all kind of trouble, get us hired and fired, and get us whatever we.
He was the one. That's why we got fired.
Yeah.
We almost burned down a hotel.
And then soon after that,
Grand Forks, North Dakota.
Believe it or not,
and that wasn't us. It was he stirred it all up, but we were there. So who's going to get blamed? Us. Just like when Jimmy Snuka stayed with us, and our thing was to get Jimmy where to go and, on time. So interviews were at 9:00, and Jimmy's passed out. I mean, he's out, and I'm like, "Well, I'm not waking him up." We're from Allentown. We heard all the stories about what happened, so we're scared shitless. We're just waiting till maybe he gets up. I said, "Jimmy, we gotta go." So we get him there 2 hours late. We get him there at 11.
Oh, Dice finally shake Jimmy. Yeah. Goes, "Brother, we don't gotta go nowhere. Right now, we're going to sit down." Yeah. I go, and he goes, he pulls out his bag a little bit. "I got a little bit of Pakaloa." He got the good Hawaiian weed out.
I see.
He rolled a big doob. And I'm like, "No, we can't do that." And then we got to go watch interviews. We're going to be late. And he goes, "Sit down. And when Jimmy says something, you do it."
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So he got us stoned off our fucking blazing mind. We come in 2 hours late with Jimmy. Jimmy walks in right by Greg Gagne and goes, "Lovely brother." Greg Gagne don't say a word to Jimmy, but there's me and Knobs against the wall. I told you to have him here at 9 a.m. And he could yell at us, and we're like, we're sorry. You know what I'm saying? Like, so now it comes, we go and fucking run and hide because we had to be there to watch interviews to learn. Me and Knobs sneak behind the curtain. We're peeking out, laying down back there. And now it comes time for Jimmy, and we know that he's as stoned as we are because he got us wasted. And then now we listen to Jimmy's interview. And when the moon comes high and all this crazy stuff, and me and Knobs are back going, yes, Jimmy. And we now we understood his interview. Now we understood. It's like because we were at his level. We're wasted back there hiding. Now we're going, yeah, Jimmy. You tell him.
The other time we got fired when we almost burned down the hotel. And that wasn't our deal either. But we shot fireworks off in the outside hotel. It was at Grand Forks, and we banged on Ray Stevens and Wahoo's room, who were the bookers. And Wow goes, who is it? Opens the door, and all of a sudden, zoom, Roman candles come in the room.
Kurt had a blazer, and in the back where the tailgate is, he put me in Knobs, so they could only see us with all the fireworks.
Right.
He backs up like 20 feet from the door. He goes, light them. And he started blowing the horn and thing. And wow, what is going on out there? All of a sudden,
a 50 shotter.
Like going, and he sees, you son of a bitches. And the next day, we get called in. First thing in the morning, the girl, Kathy from the office, Ray and Wahoo and Vern would like to speak with you.
Two of the craziest wrestlers ever.
Yeah, you come to the office immediately. We're like, oh no, we're young, we don't, And now we're sitting right here, and Ray and Wahoo are there, and Ray goes, and now we look up. And back there's a window in the office, and I'm looking over their head, but looking outside the windows, Jimmy, Shawn Michaels, Scott Hall, and Kurt Hennig going like this, and we're in there like he goes, you two look, and we look like two puppy dogs in there. Like Ray's going, you two get drunk and act like assholes. And I don't know what their problem is, but somebody's eye could have got knocked out. Those fireworks were like, me and Knobs were sitting there looking at each other. We looked like two dogs that just lost their home.
Right.
You know what I mean? He goes, now you're fired. And
Wow said, you're fired.
And then they're out there watching us, and we get fired. And me and Knobs are on the way home go, how the fuck can those two tell us we get drunk and act like assholes?
Yeah, because
what do they think they do? We're young, but we can't say nothing about it.
But they were the craziest bastards in the wrestling business back in the day. They did everything. Wahoo was crazy son of a bitch.
But it was all Kurt and a test.
Yeah.
Right.
Were we going to say we didn't do it and say just try to save our jobs? Because everything was a test.
Right.
To see what you do. We wouldn't say shit, rat, stooge, nothing. We took the heat, and then Kurt would let us sit home for a week and call up. Man, what are you guys going to do? You're fired. I'm like, well, no. Our business is ruined. We were pacing around, and he'd call up every day and fucking rib us and go, we'd be like, no, we'll never, it's over. We're done already. It's ruined.
It took about a week. And radio, Wahoo calls and says, you assholes. He goes, I got you a job. Tennessee, they want you down there. You got to go down there. Then he sent us down to Jarrett.
To Jarrett. That's
when I told the story. That's when the kid says, we had the spandex on. He goes, you guys call yourself the Nasty Boys.
And that's where we
you're
had the
dressing
apartment.
like wrestlers.
And we had
and we started to, believe it or not, I can honestly say we started to covering up the body thing. Because our arms were big, our other parts didn't look like no Hulk Hogan or.
Hey, are you saying we're not bodybuilders?
What are you
Come on.
But we came up with the sweatshirts and the splash. And,
going back to that party, did you guys talk to Vince at all when you were? I mean, did you try to network?
Yes, we said hi to him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we were very, we didn't know him, so
Vince
was
always
very nice.
Vince was Shane was like our generation.
Right.
That's the same kind of relationship Hulk and Vince had, because there's generation gap. So Shane was like our best friend and our age and that, where Vince was like our dad or the principal. Every time I was talking with Vince, he was always like, I was in the principal's office,
Right.
because of that generation gap.
Right.
So it was like nothing like, hey, do you want to get in? It was like, yes, okay, yep.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was like when we would get called or something. It was like we're
But
sitting in
he's
front
seen
of the
everything before that
Yeah.
too, with the funks and all the stuff he went through. So
Right.
you know, he
And
knew.
that's where you guys maintained a relationship with Hogan from then on there. Like you
Well,
Oh, yeah.
it was all. It goes all the way back to when we were in Florida Championship Wrestling. He would come in the restaurant, you know, to
Right.
our restaurant there. So he would come in. That's how we met him and became good friends with him. But we were wrestling, you know, first for South Atlantic, then for WCW. But after that, a Halloween Havoc match.
right.
That's when he called me. He called me and
So
said,
yeah,
"Hey,
so that's
now-"
what we're gonna do. We're gonna bring it all the way around again. You have that match, contract talks, but now Hogan and Vince call. So that's where we started.
Well,
So
yeah, so we were at the part with Jim Hurd. We're sitting in, was it South Carolina? I don't remember the town. But we were in the locker room.
Jacksonville.
Oh, was it Jacksonville?
Yep.
I remember the locker room because they had that stage like lift in the back. And I remember that we needed to talk to you guys. And we were at that point where we had people. We got the call. What do we do? We didn't know what to do or how to handle this situation. We're young.
And I don't think WCW knew that Vince had called
Yeah.
us, you know.
But he
Right.
comes and goes, we want to get you guys under contract, and plays this big contract down in the locker room, and thinking that we just grab it, and it was a ton of money. I mean, for us, it was a lot of money between the two. It was a roundabout would have been over $1 million deal. You know what I mean? At the time, through multiple years in each, you know. And we talked to a bunch of different people. Some people were office side and said, listen, you need to take that guaranteed money and stuff. And one person, and this goes back to it was Terry Taylor, wasn't it? Who told us.
No, Vince actually
No,
told
when we asked about going up. Wasn't that we called back? Because the same thing we did with Triple H.
Well, no, Vince.
No, I'm talking about when we asked people in the locker room and we were backstage. They said Terry Taylor. We called him and said, "Listen, Vince McMahon called us and his contract's here. What do you do?" He goes, "He's one of the only guys that didn't say here, take money." He goes, "If Vince McMahon's calling you and giving you an opportunity, go."
Yeah, but
And then we said, so
I was
that's
on the phone with Vince though, and Vince said, you know,
did you
don't
tell
mind
him?
me
Did you tell him
asking,
about the
what-
contract?
What are you getting? That's what he said.
He asked you.
And I said, they offered us this, guaranteed. And he says, I don't give out guaranteed contract. It's a no money contract. But I guarantee you, on my word, that you'll make 3 times more than what they guaranteed you. And that's all he had to say. And I said, yes, sir. I said, we're in, you know. And then we went back to WCW and said, we're going to leave. And that's when Jim Hurd came up with the contract, tried to get us to stay. And then they had us in the last match where they wanted Steiner's to beat us.
We were in a room,
And he was mad. And then Jim Ross. And then Jim Ross actually went to the Steiners and said, hey, get these guys and pin them, you know, stretch them and pin them for real. And Scotty and Ricky both stuck on our side and said, no, man, we like them guys, and they did everything we ever wanted to do. And the Steiners stuck up for us.
Wow.
Because we had it as a DQ, and Ross and Jim Hurd wanted us to get beat before we go up to Vince.
Right.
And it did. It stayed as a DQ because the Steiners were on our side.
Yeah.
Said, hey, man, that's their choice, but we're not going to do that to them. They're good guys. They're good friends.
At that time, they were really mad at it. And after, I think then...
Not the Steiners, but the office was.
Right.
We went in right at the same time. I think Taker went in maybe a week or
No,
two.
it was me, you, and the Taker.
Me, him, and Undertaker.
At the same time.
Same time.
Yeah.
And then a little bit after that, while we were there, here came Rick left. Flair came left and came with us.
It was about a year or two later.
Yeah, that's a big move.
Yeah,
there.
it was a year
Sure.
later, but
That's the face of the company.
We didn't know. I mean, they didn't put him in the Royal Rumble in 1991, but they put me in. So, you know, because I guess they needed guys or whatever. So they called me down, and so they had the board listed, and I'm looking, okay, what am I getting thrown out? And then I look and I go, what the hell? I'm the third last guy in there. Me, Earthquake, and Hogan. You know?
That's a good
and,
spot.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, I was nervous as hell. Are you kidding me? And you know, and then at the end, Hulk asked me, what would you like to do? I said, well, why don't you give me a big boot and I'll go over the backwards. And he goes, you sure you can make that? Do that bump, brother? Dude, when he kicked me, I had so much energy in me, I was just above the top rope.
Right.
I didn't care how I landed or anything.
Right.
And then before you know it, came WrestleMania, and we didn't even know it till maybe a week before that we were going to get the belts. We didn't know it. We were wrestling the Hart Foundation. We thought we were going to get beat. And here they had us.
No, we didn't
belts.
know we were even. We didn't know we were gonna. We just thought we were going against them. We didn't know it until the night of.
Right.
I think I didn't know it.
No, we knew about a week before because we had the show in
interview.
Rosemont.
Yeah,
remember?
right.
Was
Was
there
the head with the boot?
was the mentality of a lot of the boys in WCW, were they trying to get to WWF at the time? Was that like the goal of most of the talent there?
Some were and some weren't. Because,
I don't think so.
Because I must say something about WCW. When you have a guaranteed money, and even when you're hurt, it's different than no money contract.
Right.
I mean, Vince gave a no money contract, but he did tell me, and he wasn't lying. We did make 3 times more than they offered us.
Right. But if you would have got hurt, or it was a risk.
Like I did the one time, you know, they said they paid for the operation. They only paid for half, and I didn't get barely, you know, nothing. I wasn't getting the same money.
Right.
Know? And he was still, I think you were still wrestling.
The thing about it is back at that time, it's like if you're playing baseball, you make it to the Yankees, you're always a Yankee after that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's a level that you want to achieve. And in pro wrestling, the highest level at that time, and still, they're still the number one company in the world. You wanna, if you wanna be on that threshold, and then you can go back, and then if you go back to WCW, it's like a cakewalk. You got guaranteed money.
Right.
You fly up do TV 2 days a week until the whole Monday Night War thing, and Scott and Kevin came in. The whole business, the WCW changed.
Did they ever go after Sting?
But
I think guys like Sting and Lex did go. I know he had a really problem getting over up there, changing the gimmick and stuff. He couldn't do it.
All American.
Sting never wanted to go. Sting was
he never wanted to.
Sting was a company guy. There was no reason for him to leave, making probably a multi-million-dollar contract.
But did he have the same mentality as you guys, where you like? Yeah, he's got the guaranteed contract, and he is the main guy. But there's another level.
Every time I called home to my pop, my dad, all he would ever say is, "You're not in the WWF yet, kid. You're not in the WWF yet." That's all he would ever say to me.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that was one of our goals, is to get there. And then to get there and then find out, you know, maybe a week or so before, that at a WrestleMania, we're going to be winning the titles off the Hart Foundation, which is one of the greatest tag teams, you know, out there that ever was out there. You know what I mean? I mean, it was amazing. That's what really marked us and made us who we are today. The Nasty Boys, that stamped us right there as these guys are legit. No matter if we cheated or whatever, and we held them until up to SummerSlam, and the Road Warriors.
I don't know. I don't know it for a fact, but the only reason, like guys that like Sting, Lex, Rick,
even the Steiners,
or would even never leave, is only when it comes in the contract negotiation. Okay, you got to have the leverage. Well, here it is. This is what you're giving me. No, I want this. Okay, we're not giving you that. Okay, then if you got, well, I'm going to leave then. Well, if you can't just bluff.
Right.
You got to have a place to go.
Right.
So. And you're not taking that contract. You got to go, and they don't. Especially Ted Turner didn't like losing his talent, so that's why to jump up there, you come back. Now you're going to get that money. You know what I'm saying?
Well, we did our run. We were there for 4 years, and now we're on the downswing, right? And now you're down kind of down the bottom, and that's when Dusty was booking and called us up and offered us really good money contract.
The second WCW run.
Yeah, and we said, hell yeah, we're gonna go. And Vince was the only one when we sat in there to give us our name and everything. He let us go with our name and everything, even though we made the name. We had the name before, when we were wrestling for Vern and everything on ESPN. We already had the name, but we didn't have a trademark.
Oh, you didn't?
No, but he let us go with our name and
Did
everything.
he trademark it while you were there?
No, he
I
did.
don't think you could, because it was like an intimate domain. Because we know we see you have it here, and you had it here and
But
here
Vince
and all these
did
places. So after that, though, he would change people's names that they had, like Road Warriors. Now you're LOD. You leave again, you can be Road.
What about your
Warriors.
actual working names like Sags and Knobs? Did he try to copyright those?
I don't know, but that's our real names.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't know. But we never had a problem with that.
To go from then, after working 4 years with WWF, the greatest time ever, but going 300 some days a year, hardly no days off ever. You're just on the road and you're really busting your ass. And, if you get hurt, you still wrestle, because if you don't wrestle, you don't get paid.
Right.
Because there's no money contract. So then we had a chance to get, more money than we were making, and like a 2 or 3 year contract up at WCW. And we went up there, and it went from working 300 some days with no days off to maybe 200.
We
but
were just
going. We were just
and
going from
champions
Tampa
and
to Atlanta,
right,
and doing center stage or doing this, and so it was much easier. Still hard work with the people we wrestled, but it was more, a lot of stress and mental off your mind of going.
What was the?
On the road
I like the WCW's. It was a lot close, like with we did the Steiner, close to the Minneapolis style. Wrestling style, the Southeast,
right?
But we also, while we were there, had the opportunity. Now, in came as agents Mike Graham, who knew us, Greg Gagne, and Bill Dundee from Tennessee, and they knew what stuff we did down there and how we mixed with different people. Now, I know Bill Dundee saw us. We sold out Mid-South Coliseum for weeks in a row in Memphis, because we did a street fight type thing with Pat Tanaka and Paul Diamond. They were bad company back then. And we went pillar to post all over the Mid-South Coliseum. So I know they thought that in their head. And I remember at the end of our run in WWE, we were in Madison Square Garden, and we were going to do this like semi-babyface switch, maybe something with Jimmy Hart and all that kind of stuff. And it was Arnold Skaaland, Vince, Mike Rotundo, Ted DiBiase, me, Knobs, and Jimmy in there at Madison Square Garden. I was like, I brought this idea up. I said, listen, I want me and Knobs, they come out first, they're there. I want to sneak around the other side of Madison Square Garden and come in from the back. I want to throw them out, and back then you couldn't touch a chair, touch a table. Even Gorilla used to get mad when I would spit. It was never touched anything like that.
Yeah.
Not that, but I wanted to come in hot and sabotage from the back and brawl through Madison Square. Vince would have nothing to do with it. No, my God, no. No. And I went back and forth. I'm telling you, this is going to work. You know what I mean? I went back. Arnold, I'm looking for Arnold. Arnold's going like that. Arnold's going, and goes, Vince says, okay, Knobs walks out like he's coming out. You go around the back, and you run in, and then so basically I ran in behind and double clotheslined him. But nothing, we were not allowed to leave the ring.
Right.
But it still got a big pop and started the match. But nothing like he wanted to do. By going, Terry Funk, you say, you either want a 1 year run or a 10-year run, son. You know what I mean? So, our run was done. And back then, there was Japan, WCW, territories you can go. And
so there were no hard feelings.
You can go.
No.
And you come back later, you're fresh again.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're new. Now the name of the game is like, get in there and stay for 50 years because there's nowhere else to go. Now, luckily, there is, which is awesome. There's
we did have
4 or
a chance
5
to
up
go
on the
back before Scott Hall and Kevin Nash came down. We didn't know they were coming down.
Well, we know that. I'm gonna get into that.
Yeah, but before that, they called. Our contract was almost up.
But before he starts with that, what I'm saying is, by going back there, it gave us the ability to do things that we couldn't do up there, and that the main one was getting to work with Mick. With Cactus time, Mick Foley.
Right.
Once us three got together, Kevin Sullivan was the booker time, put himself in there, was Max Payne started. Kevin saw how hot this was getting. Yeah. Kevin put himself with Mick Foley, Cactus Jack. We still call him Cactus. Anyway, put himself in there, and that led to the Chicago street fight and the Philadelphia street fight. And we grew up in this area. We're in Philly, and it was a smart idea to pull in the Broad Street Bullies into it. We later on met Bernie Perrott, but Schultz and the Broad Street Bully. And if you're from this area, the old Flyers in the 70s, are you kidding me? That was the greatest. So Dr. Dave was our referee for that match, and we're not in the Spectrum. We were at the old Civic Center, which had a whole different feel to it. Spectrum was awesome, though. Awesome, great old building. Right. But the Civic Center, just like the Rosemont in Chicago, was so much different than the Pavilion. It was more, the Civic Center was packed to the roof, but still a real audience feel place. You know what I mean? The connection with the people. We could have never did that kind of stuff on a pay-per-view or anything at that point in time.
Right. When we did the Chicago street fight, okay, nobody ever saw nothing like that before. And when we got back in the locker room, me and Cactus and Max and Sag were having such a good time. Rick came in front of all the boys, and he cut us down and screamed at us
Rick
for 20 minutes.
I heard this story.
He laid into us.
For 20 minutes, he was...
Because
he's called it embarrassing, right?
No, he's old school.
Yeah, made us embarrassed, and we felt
really,
bad.
I thought we were hugging. We thought this was... Because it tore the house down.
Yeah.
But... He's old school.
Right.
But like, how are you supposed to do it? It was booked as a street fight. I said, what else are we supposed to do? It's a street fight.
So anyway, but on that Tuesday, okay, it happened on Saturday or Sunday, whatever the pay-per-view was. On that Tuesday at the center stage, we made all the boys get in the locker room, and he personally apologized to me and Sag, Cactus, and Max, because he said when he got off the Learjet home, all his son Reed was asking about was, are the Nasty Boys okay? Are they nothing about his match? It was all about that match.
The first thing he said, Reed came running up to him at the plane and goes, that was the greatest match I've ever seen. And Rick goes, thanks to God, and God bless Reed. He goes, thank you. He goes, no, Dad, not your match. That fight with the Nasty Boys did. And Rick thought, oh my God, the kid. And that's all that Reed talked about, because now Rick saw it from another side.
Right.
And Reed was such a good kid, man.
I mean, that we can go in another story there, because out of respect, Rick called Reed and David, and Reed was going to have his first match ever in the wrestling business.
Yeah.
He called Knobs and me and asked if I said we'd be honored to wrestle him and David, and Jimmy Hart managed me and Knobs in Charlotte.
And I was working out with Hulk, and Hulk found out about it.
And Rick manages kids.
Yeah.
Now go ahead.
And then I'm working out with Hulk, and I tell the Hulk about it. He goes, well, hell, I need to get involved with this. What the hell? So Hulk called Rick, and Hulk says, hey, I'll be special guest referee for it. So we had Hulk special guest referee, me, Sag, and Jimmy Hart against David and Reed for their first match, and it got over. It was about a 2,500, 3,000 seat building, and the people went crazy, and we had a great match with them. Yeah. And that was his first match.
That's awesome.
I knew Reed had an amateur background, because he was a little kid. Rick would always take him to his things in Carolinas, his wrestling matches and stuff like that. So I watched. Mike Rotundo taught me that about wrestling in Japan. I said, I'm going to start this match with him like this. So basically, the go behind and wrestling and thing where the guy's on all fours and you grab the ankle and the front arm, and they said, the referee goes, go. He started like that, and I let him beat me a bunch and got pissed, and me and Knobs were throwing shit around, son of a bitch. And finally, okay, now you get down there. And I'm going to, and as soon as he did, I just went up and punted him right in the face and beat the motherfucking shit. We laid into him. I mean, and this is in Charlotte, and it got instant. The heat. The people were coming over to, you cheating bastard. You out wrestling. Just a simple thing I learned off Mike with the amateur in Japan that got over all the time. That's how we started. The finish of the match. big comeback. The whole Flair family, Rick, everybody. Rick's in the middle with Jimmy Hart. Woo! Jimmy Hart goes into figure 4. Reed's got me. I'm in the figure 4. David gets Knobs. All three of us are selling the place is coming unglued, and Hulk goes, ding, ding, and that was it. We all rolled out, sold in our knees. That was the match.
I thought, after that Chicago Street fight and getting yelled at in front of everybody, and then doing that at TV and getting everybody together and apologizing, I thought that was a class-ass act by Ric Flair.
Absolutely.
And Rick's always been one of our best friends to this day.
Well,
we went to his 70th surprise party, and that was one hell of a deal. Everybody was there. Triple H, Shane, Barkley, Rodman, Curley, the running back, for the NFL. Yeah, so
was it a good time when we had a talk with Reed? Was that when Carrie's daughter first came in, Lacey? Was that in Charlotte or was that in Winston-Salem?
That was in Charlotte.
Charlotte. We were at a signing, and we purposely went to pull him aside and Bailey tried to straighten him out. Reed, because he had the monkey on his back. You know what I mean? It was becoming a problem, and saying, "Listen, forget us saying that, but I know that's a whole different monster." You know what I mean? And we tried our best. It broke my heart because we actually invited ourselves. We would listen in, and me and Knobs heard Rick inviting Ted DiBiase to his house when we were just flying in to wrestle. And we go, "Rick, you're not inviting me and Knobs." Okay, you guys should come over for the cookout too, to Rick's house in Charlotte. So Owen's driving us. "Hey, Owen, Rick invited you too." Owen didn't know it. We bring Owen, and he thought he was invited. "Thanks, Rick." Rick's looking at Owen. Next thing, Rick looks out the window. We got Charlotte and Reed in the pool, and we're throwing them like 50 feet in the air. The little kids, and they're screaming and yelling, and Rick's pool in his backyard. Rick's in there just going, "How the hell that we're eating the steaks and everything," that kind of stuff like that. You know what I mean? He goes, "They weren't even invited. I just was inviting Ted. They overheard it."
To take it back to when we were in WWF.
No, wait. Another one. Tell them about the Warriors house.
But WWF prime time. They have us at the Sheridan, me, Sag, and Jimmy, and I heard Warriors staying at Vince's house. So, when we're doing prime time, I go,
"This is funny.
What the hell is this shit?" And Vince goes, "What? You have Warriors staying at your house, and we're at the Sheridan? What the hell's going on?" And I gave him shit just to rib him, and he called Linda up, and before you know it, we were staying at his house.
You two are also.
And Jimmy Hart goes, "I've been working here for 7 years, baby. I wasn't ever even invited to this house. I can't believe it." And we stayed there. And
Vince goes,
four in the morning.
You two are also I was like, "Yeah, what?" "You two are also invited for dinner." So Shane's there, Warrior. We're partying.
No, Shane wasn't there. Shane.
He came, didn't he? Because he was in the basement.
Shane and Steph were gone. We stayed in their rooms.
Okay.
Yeah, and then, but funny, 4 in the morning.
Wait, you stayed in their rooms?
Listen,
it's this big mansion in Connecticut.
Right.
So
you figured they would have a guest room or something.
Waiting, serving dinner. It's me, Knobs, and Warrior. Jimmy Hart
stayed in the
down
guest
there.
house.
Okay.
There was 3 of us, and then Warrior too. So Warrior was there. About 4 in the morning, Vince comes down the stairs to the back, and there I was in the refrigerator, drinking milk right out of the carton. And all of a sudden he's just standing there looking at me like this. I went, "Oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that." Hey, the Nasty Boys. So maybe that's why we're not in the Hall of Fame yet.
I was going to ask you about that.
So we land in Phoenix, and where Knobs is busting the Warriors' butt going, "Geez, you live here and you don't have a party for the guys or not at the house?" He goes, "What? Okay, well, come on over." And he's got this badass with like a adobe home with these big logs, a mansion in the thing, the whole hill. We're driving the 4 wheels and stuff. We grab Owen with us again. Owen, we're invited to cook out at Warrior's house. Really? Yeah, come on. And we're driving the 4-wheelers and all that stuff.
Yeah.
We ate and drank all night at his self-invited to his house.
Right.
Just invited ourselves over again.
Right.
You know, we like to think, John Belushi, the things that wouldn't leave.
Did you put that? Did you at least finish the milk carton, or did you put it half?
No, I
in?
put it back in.
It still had milk in it.
Later on,
I put the lid on it.
Oh, come on!
Later on, it gets
Oh,
later.
I was going to drink a whole gallon. I was
I
couldn't find the glasses, so I just opened up, drank on it.
Right.
I didn't know he was going to come down the steps.
Wow.
And I saw him standing there and went, oh, I'm sorry. Like I wiped off the top, put it back in. And went zooming up the back into the room going, oh, fuck, I can't believe he was just drinking out of the milk.
Then he ate his Wheaties the next morning.
I don't ever recall getting invited back to any of those places.
Right.
Now, Hog would make sure we were at every damn party, Christmas party, whatever function, because, you know, he wants our antics in there and something,
Right.
all this shit being stirred and craziness going on. You know, you got Hawk and us and Davy Boy and Anvil, all the crazy bastards in one house at the same time, all night Christmas parties and stuff. But Hawk's big house in Bel Air was crazy good times.
Yeah.
Crazy shit. Yeah. Some of the 90s were awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Great time to be in the business.
He brought it up, so I'll elaborate. No Nasty Boys in the Hall of Fame. What's up with that?
You know, I don't know nothing about that. Really.
How can the Bushwhackers? The Bushwhackers are in, and the Nasty Boys
the
aren't.
Bushwhackers deserve it.
They do. I'm not take nothing away, but still.
Listen, I know Butch and Luke really good. I'm really close with Luke. He lives by us too. And two of the greatest guys on earth, and they truly deserve that.
So do you.
I'm hoping one day we go in. That's like the final goal if you go in there. But you know, it is what it is. So you just
I mean, there can't be any animosity there.
Well, I mean, it's a hard question. So like, well, why ain't you in there? I go, I don't know. I mean,
You think it's the milk carton?
No, I mean, I don't think
could be a lot of things. That's not the only thing we did to Vince.
Listen,
we were ripping everybody.
A true story. Now, we were best tight with Paul, Triple H,
and had this energy drink. That's
and
good.
the same thing happened to him. He was wrestling like as a Frenchman with a noble, not Hunter Hearst Helmsley, something else.
Paul Levesque.
Yeah, so Paul, that's his name.
Oh, yeah.
And he would always straight, would never drink or nothing, but he always drive us. But he would come out every night with me and Knobs because Lord Steven Regal, because we always had.
Oh, is that when he was terrorizing?
But but Triple H would come with us all the time because he loved to see our antics and all this stuff.
Right.
We'd all get in trouble.
Lord was so funny because he has his English ways, but he loved us and we loved him.
When it came time, Triple H called me and Knobs. We went back of the cameras and all that where nobody could hear us. And he said to me and Knobs, he goes, hey, I got a call from Vince McMahon to come up there. He goes, and we told him the story, what happened. I said, listen, and one person, I said, Terry Taylor told us, and we're going to tell you it. If he's calling you, you fucking go. Don't listen to the rest of these guys. And I said, when you go up there, you go right to these two guys. You our best friends, Shawn Michaels and Shane McMahon. And I said, go hang with them. So later, I just saw him. I saw him at Ric Flair's party. He said, listen,
and Kurt,
and Kurt, I said, we told you who to hang out with. We never said that you're supposed to, carouse the boss's daughter and marry into the company and steal the company. He started laughing. That was never in the plan. Where'd you take that left turn on the Nasty Boys? You know what I mean?
Right.
But I know that Shane is one of our best friends and always will be. And I know that
Triple H,
there's nothing between us at all.
Yeah, no animosity with anybody.
There's nothing like that. So I know it ain't like what you're saying.
Right.
I don't think it's that Hall of Fame stuff's about any of that.
It's just timing, maybe.
They'll be friends of mine.
Who's ever, I don't know how they vote for it or whatever. So we'll get in one of these days.
I'm sure.
I'm
sure.
Now I did
hopefully I'll still be alive while we get in.
You got a long way to go, Knobs.
Sean changed, went through different phases. We were gone, but I still consider Sean one of our best friends. We lived together. Yeah. He lived with us in Memphis. He stayed with us in Brad's basement too. And then we'd have to in our room there was a big bed that was nice, and then the shitty bed that had the busted out bot, and we'd have to switch off to who got it. And he'd always somehow win it and get. He's sprawled out in the big bed, and I'm on the one that was bent.
It was like a water bed, but like
so Sean would be in there with us when he stayed. We're all in there loaded. We'd all be in there. We stayed. He lived with us.
Me and Sean stayed in the same bed. It was a big king size. Sean on one side, me on the other, and then the other bed was right next to us. So all three of us. We could have a reality show back then with a camera on the thing. That would have been a hit right off the bat.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, Nasty Boys, I mean, your reputation for wildness, it carried over into this interview.
Yeah.
And we're getting ready to wrap it up because you guys, we're going to be doing a live signing coming up in about a half an hour.
Oh,
so we're going to get ready to wrap this up and take a break. So, guys, I just want to thank you for an amazing interview. Fun stories.
Is, though, we're not like that anymore. I'm 57.
Are you
He's
sure?
57. I swear to God. And you know what? But because of all that stuff we did back in the years, everybody still thinks we're still just like that.
Nasty for life.
When Niles would say stuff like that in the locker room, you know what Arn Anderson used to do? He'd go like Pinocchio's nose is growing. Niles would come into the WCW locker room and go, "Oh, I worked out today," and then Arn would roll his eyes like, "That's like throwing a deck chair off the Titanic." He would go.
My one saying was. Every day's a Friday and every night's a Saturday night, you know. But driving from the airport, and we live in Allentown, so I get to see my parents while we're here. That was another big reason to come up. But we drove by the Clarion, where they had some kind of signing there one time, and Ken brought us up from KNS.
Who?
SAG clothesline.
Right. We came back from drinking all night in South Philly, and we come in. I see those high back chairs in the lobby, and Ken's there. Said I seen him there. I did a full sprint and clotheslined him, and him in the chair did like a pull down the thing. And Ken's like, my back and all this stuff. So now I go, where's Arn? I said, Arn goes, I'll be back down.
He didn't only do that. Then he had to go dumbass and do this. So go ahead and tell him what you did.
I said, Arn goes, I'll see you guys when you get back. I'll meet you at the bar. Arn runs to the room and probably puts 50 locks in the door. Because he goes, I'm not going down to that bar with the Nasty Boys. So I go to the front desk. Give me Arn Anderson's room. Ding, ding, ding. There's no answer, sir. And I finally said, I just want to leave the keys of the car. Well, just between what's the room number? He tells me his room. So now I gather on every high back chair that I could find in every level of the hotel, and where the elevators are. There's chairs and a table, and I load them in the elevator and unload them on Arn's floor. Then I take all the chairs,
his floor, right at
and
his
then
door.
From his door to the door across the hall, and like 8 feet this way and that way, all the way to the ceiling, stack the chairs and barricade them in the room. So the next day he wouldn't be able to get the fuck out of the room.
And it's so funny. And he's working for Vince at the time. I said, "Well, that's good. That's that's getting right back to the office. Nasty Boys didn't change. They're still doing their stupid shit. Back in our day, the ribbing in that was fun, and people knew it. Now there is nothing like that. It's not like it used to be, and it's different. And Triple H, when I was at Rick's 70th, he told me honestly, he goes, like, when you guys went through, the wrestling. It was like rock and roll, like you're a rock and roll group, this and that, and it's not like that no more. People don't do what we did, because we used to go, Undertaker, everybody called, and everybody would meet at the bar, and then we go here, there, and then we end up at the bar at the end of the night.
I tell the younger kids,
nobody even does that anymore.
I tell the younger kids, it's like Led Zeppelin in 1972 live. What would now everything's. You know what went on the road, and they would walk out on the stage, and Jimmy Page would just start playing something. They'd chip in. There was all ad lib. Now everything's politically correct. This guy does this backstage, and nobody can thing. He walks out, everything's sound backed up. You play the same songs after and after every night. The concert's same, all business. That's the same way rock and roll and the live events. Where's the hook? Why you wanted to go see it live is because maybe Jimmy Page would take the guitar and play, for 40 minutes straight, or Joel Walsh or whoever you're seeing, the Who, and or Keith Moon will just go nuts. They just let him ramble, or Keith Moon gonna fall over and pass out on stage?
Right.
Johnny Cash, all of them. You know what I mean? That's like the politically correct bullshit. Is like why go see it, and they're just going through the motions with the backup and everything sound backed up and this, okay, they go back, wait, okay, they're cheering, okay, the encore. All right, yay,
Right.
see you later.
Right.
But to me, it's bullshit.
But you look at every sport has changed. Football, they can't hit the quarterback like they used to. They can't do that. Basketball, hockey, as time progresses, it does change, and every sport changes, just like wrestling has changed. You had your times, and them were the good old times, but you can't do that no more. That's just, it is what it is.
To me, there is no more wrestling business as we knew it.
Right.
Right now, I see it as WWE is still number one, AEW great, and they're the number 2 company. And then you got, which is awesome too, Corrigan with NWA. Then you got Ring of Honor and TNA still kicking in, where all the guys have learning thing to learn. But what are they all just doing? All they're doing is hooking deals with cable companies and produce TV production.
Right.
It's all TV production. And what the old timers said to us, and really happened. What does it come down to? Producing television and pay-per-views. That's it. The house show business is gone.
I have a question for you.
The heart and soul of the business was the house shows. It's gone. I don't know how that's going to come back. When you have 5 up and running companies and you have 600 cable stations and there's so much content out there. Now you got the Lucha too and New Japan on TV.
Right.
Now the Japanese style they're exposed to, which they never saw that until
Right.
now. Now everybody thinks like the first time they put during the Monday Night the Wars, the first time they put the Lucha on, everybody started wrestling that style. Now everybody now that they've seen it, every kid's wrestling Japan style, which
Right.
isn't bad, but basically that's both Lucha and Japanese. That style they're doing is a cruiserweight style. The big guys in both companies never wrestled like that.
Right.
So everybody's implementing that, like the Kenny Omega stuff and all that, the ongoing, the false finishes, all that kind of, that's pure Japan.
Right.
And them seen it because of Cuban putting it on his network, and now New Japan seen worldwide. Where that's how we worked when we went there. How we were with the Steiners in the States. When we went to Japan, you times that times 3.
Right.
And we, for brutality. It's almost like you're in a judo match or something.
But I give him all the props. I mean, Kenny Omega, amazing. If you could go we were doing a signing in New Orleans for WrestleMania. He had a line so long, and he even isn't on TV here. This was before AEW, and some of the other guys and independent guys that were actually never got TV exposure and are still, the fans are that much behind them, and their work is fantastic.
He is.
I take my hat off to the new guys. They're busting their ass, especially now when there's no people and they're still going out there and killing themselves.
Well,
I my hand and I applaud them.
I saw
big time.
What's his name? CM Punk came out of like an indie type thing and took his gimmick into a national exposure and got over, which is awesome. Same as Kenny Omega. Cody got with that gang with the Young Bucks and all them, and they got over huge with that whole. And I think Harry was in there too. That Bullet Club thing.
Yes.
God bless him. That's do that this day and age is awesome. And what's his name with the beard?
Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, he was pretty much an indie guy.
Yes.
That came and super got over. God, that for this day and age, that's not easy to do.
And
you're basically making it on your own.
And I really, really, and he's a friend of mine, a good friend. I really take my hat off to Undertaker to last as long as he did and keep that quality of match. His work never went down. When he wrestled, he gave it all he got, and it was never a shit match. It was, and that's pretty hard. He's our age, man. And I know his body feels like ours, and he's finally retired now. But you never know, he might come back here or there. But that's hard to do. 30 years of that in WWF.
And he's a good friend too.
Oh yeah, I mean that's amazing. It really is.
What you guys were saying before, and take it this as the ability of learning and having chances. We are in Florida, and the tag team tournament for Giant Baba, which is Old Japan, was coming up. And Mike asked Dory Funk, and Dory got us booked for the tag team tournament. It's a whole month, but just tag teams. As a young tag team, me and Knobs went to Japan for the first time in 1988. But look, we got to wrestle the British Bulldogs, Stan Hansen, and the Great Tenaru were a team. Terry Gordy and Doc, Abdullah the Butcher and Tiger Jet Singh, and then all the tag team of the Japanese stars.
And you had Doug Furnace and
the
Can-Am
connection. So all
and he's passed away now. I mean, it's
did he?
Yeah.
Doug Furnace?
Yeah. A couple of years ago, I think.
Wow, he was always like a power lifter type guy.
Yeah, I didn't drink that much. That's one shame about our business. A lot of our good friends have passed away, and it's a rough life, man. This ain't no easy road. Wrestling is no easy road, and that's why we get respect from NFL players, baseball players, hockey players, because they know what we go through, and see it.
Sure.
And, 300 days a year, man, back in the day with no days off. I mean, I think Hercules Hernandez, God bless his soul, I think he went like almost 120 days straight without having a day off.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the only positive out of the politically correct, like back in the rock and roll days and the days of wrestling, is that, guys ain't waking up drowned in their own puke or something, or dying in hotel rooms.
Sure.
The kids go back now and get on the computer and look at stuff, and where we
play
were
video games.
We come out adrenaline blasted, and where are we going, all of us? Lobby bar out in the town, and a lot of times we didn't sleep. You got your sleep on the plane.
Yeah.
And a new town every day.
Yeah.
But
we're just
we
for
lost.
the best.
We lost.
It loses its soul a little bit.
A lot of my friends aren't here. A lot. I mean, I know at least 40 people that are gone because of that, and I know 20 were really close to us.
Right.
At least 20. Really close friends that I miss a lot every day.
Yeah.
So on that other end, where business killed a lot of my buddies, but if you didn't do that at that time, and walk that walk, you were gone.
Right.
You weren't accepted by the boys.
Right.
You know what I mean? You had to go and you had to do what you did in the ring and get over and be awesome at it. But outside the ring, you had to roll with the punches.
Well,
when Roddy Piper said, "Get up here! I gotta, I'm gonna." You got your ass up there.
Right.
When Jimmy said, "Let's go out drinking, brother," you went out fucking drinking.
Right.
That's about you. You never said no and stayed in the room. Never.
If you with Vince, if you were hurt and didn't wrestle, you didn't get paid. So you wrestled hurt. You wrestled with injuries. And when you're young, you could come back. But now you're feeling it. Now that I'm 57, oh man, my body aches, pains, arthritis, need replacement on my knee, my shoulder pops out all the time. But you know what? I would never take nothing back. Everybody goes, well, if you had a chance to change it, I wouldn't. I had the time of my life. I've been around the world so many times and had such a great time with the fans. I must say, the fans, without the fans, we wouldn't be here. And they still come up to us in grocery stores and stuff and say, thank you for my memories when I was a child. And now because of WWE Network, they can show their kids what they used to watch, which is great. So.
Well, the fans definitely still love you. Believe me, I got it.
Well, I thank you for having us too.
It's our pleasure.
Really
One thing, real quick, I have to ask you something, Jerry.
Yeah.
At a convention, we run a convention, the Icons of Wrestling, and I was talking with Bubba Ray Dudley. And I asked him, just off the top of my head, if him and yourself ever got into a bar fight, who would win?
You mean me against him?
You against Bubba Ray in a bar fight, and he told me, ask you. So I'm asking you, who wins?
Listen, as far as fights go, I never went into a situation where I knew I was fighting somebody. And I was never a bully. And a fight, most street fights are over in 15 seconds. It's quick and fast. And any situation like that, it depends on the situation. Like, how does it go down? Because it ain't we're just going to walk up and fight. You know what I mean? It's always something builds to it. I mean, is somebody doing this? Is somebody doing that? I'm always at my best when I'm backed against the wall, and or somebody does something to me, or my friends or family.
Right.
That pulls another trigger. You know what I mean?
We were kind of joking.
But I'm not.
So-
I don't know what would happen. I mean, like if he did something to me, I know I was mad at him the one time. When we wrestled him, I wanted to do different things. I was mad at him. I didn't know he did it, but he ran from behind. I know he did it on purpose. Hit me hard, really hard from the back. I flew in and took the camera full frontal in the face. But I just said, "Fuck, I ain't gonna,"
Right.
I got in enough trouble for handling business with my fist and cost us a lot of money in the past. And you know what had happened with our situation with Scott. That all in all, that's what I did there. By handling business like that, it cost us millions of dollars. It was the height of our career.
I didn't want to talk about any of that stuff. I wanted to keep this fun.
But Dudley boys, we love them. Good guys.
Yeah, listen, that was all
Good
done.
guys.
That
All
conversation.
tag teams.
That conversation was tongue in
We-
cheek
we-
about two of the toughest guys
But
ever.
anyway, we never had a problem with anybody. I mean, really, all the tag teams we ever wrestled were great. We always tried to do the best we could, and we always had fun with everybody. I miss the hell out of Public Enemy. They're not here no more. I mean, there's so many teams I could say, and Hawk. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
It breaks my heart.
I gotta
but
say,
we had great times with everybody we wrestled.
There's teams like I talked to
Anvil's not here no more.
I talked to Jeff Hardy. When I see Edge and Christian, those are two teams I always wanted to work against as a tag team and respected. And I had big plans and wanted to work really with the Dudleys, but the TNA was like the most bizarre, crazy work experience. I go, one day he'll go, "You guys are fired." I go, "How? That's the first time I ever got fired, and I was never hired." I don't know, how do you do that?
Really
But it was weird.
Contracts,
but I really was into it and had in my head a whole thing because of their gimmick and ours. And I had this thing planned. We get together and go around with the street fight thing and this thing and build it up in the cage, a big on TV, the whole deal. And it's like there was just no. There was no psychology. It's not their fault or ours.
Right.
It was how effed up that TNA office and crap was. It was
Yeah,
weird
they
as
talked
shit.
to Jeff Hardy, and then Jeff Hardy's talking to him. This is that Flair's surprise party, and all of a sudden they both come over to me and they said, "Jeff, tell him what you said." He goes, "Hey man, I want to talk to Vince. I'd like to have a program with you guys." I went, "You fucking kidding me? I can't even walk now."
He was talking. He talked to me first. I go, "Yeah."
Yeah, he's all for it.
And he goes, and I was like, "I can't even walk."
I can't even walk. I said, that ain't never happened, But if you really look at our career and the people we wrestled, I mean, from the British Bulldogs, Demolition, the Road Warriors, the Hart Foundation, Harlem Heat. I mean, you could just go on and on. Power and Glory. You know what I mean? I mean, just really classic tag teams
And then
that were
teams like we wrestled like we were the champions, and Rick Rude was the world champion in WCW.
Yeah.
So it was me and Knobs against Lex, Sting,
Sting,
and
it was Ricky,
Flair.
Sting, and Flair.
Ricky Steamboat. I mean, when you put different things thrown together, us against Davey Boy and Sting, us against Hawk and Sting. Yeah. You don't get to do that a lot of times. As I mentioned that Japan thing, I mean, think of a young team, and we get to wrestle those teams for 30 days in a row.
I was
in Japan.
They had like a singles thing when we did this South Atlantic. This is when I was in shape back in '90, and I wrestled Ricky. And
she's talking about Steamboat.
And they all said the big guy can go. It was like a 20-minute match. And I wanted to kill him so bad, and I was so blowed up, but it looked like I was still coming at him, but I was so blowed up. I said, "I wanted to kill you, Ricky. you came back and said great match, but you know, he kept on saying, come on, kid, come on. And I was like, if I get my hands on you, in my mind, I said, I'm going to kill you. But I never did. But I was there for every bump, and he says that. He says that to a lot of people. He was there for my comeback. You know, I sold for him and this and that, and that's big, huge.
I was there when Ricky came in and goes, the big guy can go.
And you know what? I got it.
Ricky, you couldn't beat down. He sold, but you had to keep on him and keep almost like Stan Hansen in reverse. It's like a machine, a train that ain't stopping. And Ricky would make you. I mean, sometimes he would choke on your tongue trying to keep him in the heat.
Yeah,
right.
But
that's the way he was. That's why he had those great matches like he did with Rick and the big one with Randy. Like that nonstop. They were doing that before anybody was doing that kind of style.
I got to put over David Arquette. If you watch that movie, You Can't Kill David Arquette. He got beat up. He went through a lot of stuff at 47. And we were in there and, you know, had a little segment in there, and because he came in and something like we were going to kill him the first time because we didn't use him the first time. Then the second time, I put an olive branch out to him after I saw that guy in the death match almost, you know, he almost died. He was in the hospital for 10 days. So then I had him wrestle Mr. Anderson. Hey, it was a sold-out crowd in Detroit. They had a great job and everything, and he put all that in the movie. But I actually watched the movie, and he got the shit beat out of him. I mean, he went everywhere. I mean, Jesus. To do that, you got to take your hat off to the guy. I mean, damn. Welts on his back, black eye out to here.
I watched it last week.
Yeah, it's good.
It was good.
Yeah, very good. Well, anyway, man, thank you for having us.
Nasties, thank you so much. On behalf of everybody who's contacted me this week, wanted to say thank you. Thank you for everything you've done.
Thank the fans.
You've made your mark. You've made your mark on us, and we'll always remember you forever.
You guys
want
have
you in the
always
Hall
been
of
good
Fame.
to us throughout the years. I mean, I don't know how long I know Rob now, 15, 20 years.
Oh, that guy.
But I'm just telling you, without the fans, we wouldn't be here. And even now that we've not been in the ring and we go, like I said, grocery store, whatever, gas station, and someone comes up to you, that really makes me feel good. That means we did something right because they still remember us.
As long as they're wearing a mask.
Years.
As long as they're wearing a mask.
Yeah, always wearing the mask, baby.
Put that mask over.
Here we go.
Put the mask over.
Breakneckdeer.com. Get this shirt too. It has knobs on the back and sags on the back.
There you go.
No, I never received my version of that.
Yeah, you don't get no royalties. Shut up. You got hurt and I had to wrestle without you in 2.5 years of the hardcore shit. Oh, I won.
That's why you're in the shape you're in.
I won the belt. The
hardcore title.
But going up against Fit Finley and dude, we were killing ourselves because nobody bought us stuff like they do now and gimmick the tables. We were using old stuff from the buildings, old cast iron trash cans and stuff. I don't know. I was wrestling with concussions. We didn't even know it.
All right, Knobs, listen, you got to simmer down, Knobs. We got to rest you up for the big signing.
That's it.
All right, you're getting
I'm
all
ready.
worked up. So
All
let's
right.
say goodbye to the fans.
Hey, man, thank you very much. Thanks for being Nasty Boy fans. We love you all. Stay healthy, stay safe, and hope to see you soon when the Comic-Cons and the autograph sessions come back again. So,
Thanks for coming out for Reflections, and we'll see you next time. For the Nasty Boys, I'm Tim Embler. We'll see you next time.
stay nasty, baby.